Welcome in Craft and Design 3.0. For my dear guys, for my dear audience. In this video, I will describe some unique and most beautiful flower pot ideas in different countries. So, my dear guys, when we talk about a flower pot, planter, plant variety, uh, or plant pot is a container in which flowers and other plants are cultivated and displayed historically and still to a significant extent today. They are made from a plain terracotta with no ceramic glaze with a round shape, tapering inward. Flower pots are now often also made from plastic, metal, wood, stone, or sometime biodegradable material. An example of biodegradable pots are ones made of heavy brown paper, cardboard, or peat moss in which young plants for transplanting are grown. So, my dear guys, for seedling starting in commercial greenhouse or polytunnel pots usually take the form of trays with cells, each cell acting as one small pot. So these trays are often called flats. My dear guys, there are usually holes in the bottom of pots to allow excess water to flow out, sometime to a saucer that is placed under the flower pot. The plant can use this water with its root as needed. Recently, some flower pots have been made with an automatic watering system using a reservoir. So, my dear guys, when we talk about the purpose, flower pots have a number of uses such as transporting plants to new locations, starting seeds, patio and indoor cultivation of plants, and the growing of tender plants in colder region indoor. Through the centuries, the use of flower pots has influenced the horticultural use of plants, and the Egyptian were among the first to use pots to move plants from one location to another. The Romans brought potted plants inside during cold weather. In the 18th century, pots were used to ship breadfruit seedlings from Tahiti to the West Indies. So, my dear guys, the basic, if also orchid, African violets, and pelargonium, geranium were shipped in pots from other parts of the world, including Africa to North America and Europe. In the 18th century, Josiah Wedge Woods flower pot or catchy pots were very popular. They were often highly decorative and used as table centerpiece. In Athens, earthenware flower pots were thrown into the sea during the festival of the Garden of Adonis. Um, Theophrastus mentioned that a plant called southern wood was raised and propagated in pots because it was difficult to grow. So the top of the flower pot underneath the rim is commonly known as the shoulder or cooler and can aid handling. So classification, flower pots were traditionally made from terracotta. They were made and sold by the cost, which is the number of pots produced from a given quantity of clay. So, my dear guys, if other sources give different values, like as in previous thumb between 2.5 or 2.5 in different size. So, as other sources give different value and sometime names for the smaller pots, for example, the gardener's everyday logbook, while agreeing and towards to others. So, if we talk about in these pots are nursery business. In the nursery business, plants are generally grown around or square plastic pots. Some organizations, such as the Royal Horticulture Society, encourage the reuse of plastic plant pots and trays across their retail centers. In some gardens centers, edible culture. This is done by not lettering, and it can be also, my dear guys, uh, essentially it can be a retail centers. In some garden centers, this is done by not letting the plastic growing pots leave the garden center and simply place the plant inside a cardboard or newspaper sleeve. For transportation, peat pots and paper pots are also being used and have the advantage of facilitating, my dear guys, transplanting and best, as they don't need to be pulled out of a container for planting for purpose. Rather, the whole container and plant is directly planted. Also, for sale purpose, it can be used. It can be used for an economical purpose, and it can be used for. There is no need to recover the container, as it is biodegradable and can't and does not need to be reused or recycled. Some type exist, focusing on vegetables, whereas other paper pot system exists the focus and larger plant trees, sugar cane, and different others. So, my dear guys, if we talk about in the United States, in Europe, in different other countries, the size of plastic pots have been assigned an ANSI standard by the American Nursery and Landscape Association. So, pot designated 1 to 100 nominally have the volume of that many gallons, but in fact, a pot has a capacity of zero point 0.6 to 5 gallons, to 8 gallon. There is also small plant series, different, commonly called 4 inches or quart containers. So in Europe, plastic pots comes in a number of standard size with a code indicating the approximate dimension of the diameter at the top. So my dear guys, if we talk about the size of the pot will in part determine the size of the plants. Generally, plants planted in bigger pots will end up being larger. On every plant, increase in biomass for a doubling is in lot volume, in pot volume. So this will in a pot be due to higher availability of nutrients and water in large pots, but also because roots will be uh, will get less pot bond. So this does not mean that all plants will thrive better in bigger pots, especially for succulent. It is important that the soil does not stay wet for a long time, as this may cause the root to the rot. The smaller those plants are relative to the soil volume, the longer they take to use all pot water. And bonsai plant are also purposely planted in small pots, not only for aesthetics but also because the low supply of nutrients keep the leaves smaller and the growth down, because they are often not drought resistance as succulent. This implies they have to be watered often. And when we talk about a shape, then my dear guys, it can be a different shape. So my dear guys, I think that my video and my these ideas, plastic pot or other pot ideas, inspired you much. And if inspired, then subscribe my channel and like my video and share my video. Thank you very much.